Spoiling all the Final Destination movies since the new one's been announced, part 4, and I personally think this is the weakest one in the whole franchise. Also just known as The Final Destination, which lie detector determined that was a lie. There's another one after this. Final Destination 4 opens up with these 4 friends who are at a speedway watching a race car event. So we have Nick and his girlfriend Lori and their friends Janet and Hunt. All of a sudden, there is a massive car crash which flings debris into the crowd and kills a whole bunch of people and causes the stadium to collapse. But of course, we know the formula by now. It turns out to just be a premonition by Nick. So Nick convinces his friends and a few others to leave the speedway. This includes this tow truck driver Carter, who's a fucking racist. This mom Samantha, who was there with her 2 kids. This mechanic Andy and his girlfriend Nadia. And this security guard George. So they all get out and Nadia is kind of like berating Nick and everybody and is like, you're fucking stupid. Why did we leave? And as she's doing this, this wheel flies out and just decapitates her. So mind you, Carter survived, but his wife did not. And because again, he is a dirty, disgusting racist, he for some reason blames George for his wife dying. So naturally, he drove to George's home to burn a cross on his lawn. But before he's able to do so, his tow truck ignites and drags him down the street as he's on fire and he dies. I'm not saying he deserved it, but the next day, Samantha drags her kids to this hair salon as she's getting her hair done. And just when you think everything's fine and she's leaving, this lawnmower nearby runs over a rock, which just shoots directly through her eye and she dies. So Nick hears about their deaths, and obviously, like all the other movies, he's like, okay, I've heard of things happening like this before. Death is after us. So him, Lori, and George go to find Andy, who would be the next survivor, aka he's next in Death's plan. But when they go to find him at the mechanic shop to warn him, a gas tank explodes, which then launches him through this fencing and just completely dismembers him. So then Nick has a premonition that Hunt and Janet's deaths are going to involve water. So George and Lori go to find Janet, who they find trapped in a car wash that has malfunctioned, and she's like trapped inside as the car is filling up with water. But they manage to save her in the nick of time. Meanwhile, Nick goes to find Hunt, who is a total asshole, by the way. He ends up getting stuck on a drain at the bottom of this pool at a country club, and the drain proceeds to then just suck everything out. He was awful, though. Actually, most people in this movie are awful, honestly. That's probably why I don't like it. A few days later, Nick is watching the news and realizes that this guy, Jonathan, actually survived the speedway accident. So in Nick's premonition, he died, but because Nick intervened, he didn't fully make it out, but he's injured and he's alive. Like Final Destination 3, we then get a second premonition, but this one actually plays out. As Nick and George are leaving the hospital, George gets hit by an ambulance, and then an explosion happens at a movie theater that kills Janet and Lori. When Nick snaps out of the premonition, he goes to turn and warn George, but it's too late. He gets hit by the ambulance and does die. But then he rushes to the mall to save Janet and Lori. Despite being severely injured and literally pinned to the wall by a nail gun, Nick manages to put out this fire that was going to combust and explode and kill everybody. Oh, these 3 survive. Just fucking kidding, because you know we don't have any happy endings in these movies. A couple weeks later, the 3 of them go to a cafe to celebrate being alive. But Nick is continuing to see like these signs and these omens, and he's like, hey, what if this chain of events has led us to exactly where we're supposed to be right now? And where we are right now is the perfect place for death to strike and take us all out at once. And that's exactly what fucking happens. A loose scaffold in the street falls onto a truck, which causes it to swerve and drive through the cafe, which like brutally and dramatically kills them all. But one thing I do like about this movie is how they show how all of them die in like X-ray format as the credits roll. It's pretty cool.